Good evening. The December 12th, 2024 meeting of the Corvallis School Board is called to order at 6:32 p.m. In the interest of public health and safety for all community members, especially for immunocompromised individuals and their families, the Corvallis School Board will continue to offer a virtual option for board member and district personnel participation. Additionally, public comment is available at some meetings, both in person and virtually. Information about providing public comment is available on the Corvallis School District website. The board agenda and packet, as well as the link to the district YouTube channel, are available on the school board page on the district website. Public meetings are live streamed on the district's YouTube channel, and a recording is posted to the same channel, typically the day after the meeting. Tonight, we have Chris, Bernie, Sammy, myself, Lou virtually, the rest of us in person. Judah is excused this evening, and Therese, we expect, is excused or will join us a little bit later. And tonight, the first thing on our agenda is board member reports. Does anyone have a report to share out?
So, I have a couple of reports to share. Earlier today, I was invited to attend the community partners meeting that intends to support students and community members from international background at the Orchard Community Center. And there are so many stakeholders who are sharing how they want to support or how they are supporting international community and families. So it was really great to hear from different stakeholders. They will have a synopsis that they will share with me about the discussion. So I'll ask for their permission if it can be transmitted to the rest of the board. I will forward that. The other reports I have: earlier on Monday, I was in Portland at the Oregon Business Summit, Leadership Summit. It's a summit that annually occurs and OSBA sponsors, where community partners, education, legislatures, and advocates, and the business community meet. It's a really great place to have the conversation and the reminder about the importance of education. The corporate activity tax, as you all know, funds and supports the Student Success Act, and it's about more than $1 billion a year of investments that supports our students. So it was really great to share those impacts with partners and also with legislators, and as well I got to hear from the governor and meet with her and thank her for her advocacy. Thanks.
Any other reports? Chris?
I wanted to reiterate from our last meeting where we got to hear from the middle and high school principals about what's going on in their schools and their plans. And I just really wanted to commend what they're doing in the schools to make school fun. And there was just so much positive energy from the administration, from the different schools, and just hearing about what they're doing in the schools with kids that are really different sources of connection with kids, which we know is really important. I just really wanted to compliment them and just really let the public know that I think there's just a lot of positive energy going on. And as I have visited several of our elementary schools, I've also noticed, they're doing these different activities that engage all the kids. And I just hear a lot of kids saying school is so much fun, and, they're coming back more and more because I think there's the different activities that are going on in place that are just making kids want to come to school. So I just want to compliment all the schools on that.
Yeah, I have a quick report. I had the honor of sitting through the Oliver auditions, and it's amazing how much talent is across the whole school district. I have a lot of very young kids from like 5 years old all the way up to high school seniors, and it was amazing to watch the strength of that program.
Lou?
Yeah, I was able to go to the Public School Foundation meeting, and that was great as usual to hear what's going on. And then also, a couple of weeks ago, I attended a meeting for the region to an initial meeting to try to figure out our legislative priorities for the Lynn Benton Lincoln region with other boards. And there should be another one coming out next week. So I was just going to encourage our board members to take a look at when that is announced through the Jason from the ESD is helping do the announcement of the dates, I believe. So keep an eye out for that.
Thank you, Lou. And I'll just share out in building on some of the comments that other school board members shared. I've had the pleasure of attending a number of events at different schools or participating in them, both Shuttleland Middle School Choir Concert recently this fall, as well as recently seeing Puffs at Crescent Valley, which involved students from both high schools, and just what incredible programs are happening both within and around school time that's really engaging students, that's creating spaces of belonging, that is allowing students to really apply the skills that they're developing while in school and beyond in those different contexts. So thank you to students for being engaged, for all the families who make that possible for their students to engage, as well as the staff who put in countless additional hours oftentimes to make those programs possible. All right, thank you so much for those reports. And
oh, Shauna, I had
yes,
one more.
Lou.
I told,
Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. And I couldn't find the raise hand. I also went to the Indian Education Program harvest dinner that was put together as well, and so it was great to be in community with everybody at the community center for that, and looking forward to their events being planned for the winter as well.
Thank you so much. And I'll try to remember to pause and make space for you to share as well while you're participating virtually. And thanks, folks, for your patience with me tonight. I'm stepping into chairing this meeting for first or maybe second time. I think I chaired another time while Director Whitebear, who is our chair, is participating virtually tonight. So thank you so much for being patient with me while I navigate this role and learn along the way. So really appreciate it. All right, our next agenda item is the Oregon School Board Associations, the OSBA, and NSBA, the National School Boards Association updates. Sammy, I'll pass it to you.
Thank you. I'll be brief. In your packets, I shared the letter that you may have received over email. That's what I sent to members of OSBA around the state, highlighting the importance of the election. That's OSBA members, which is the school board here and every other school board and community college board and ESD board, on 3 important resolutions that we will be considering actually later today. So I'm not going to go into a detail about them until we discuss them, and happy to be also as a resource to answer any questions. In addition, you'll see in the packets an update from NSBA for the Federal Advocacy Insider. It's a service that they provide for member districts of CUBE and National Connections that gives us updates how the political environment impacts public schools and public education from a national level. And lastly, I shared an update about a recent appointment on the NSBA Evaluation Committee, and I want to reflect about the good and positive and strong and robust evaluation process that we have here locally, as that has informed my experience, and I look forward to bring it to the NSBA committee. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for Sammy? Sammy, could you say a little bit more about the role of the evaluation committee, just in terms of what you have the opportunity to learn, how that might inform your work on our board here?
Absolutely. So the National School Board Association have a CEO and executive director, and the executive director shares her goals for the institution. One of the really phenomenal things that she did in last year, that's how can you measure key performance indicators for the support that NSBA provides for state associations and also local districts. And my role on that committee will evaluate progress on those goals and evaluate the executive director on her annual performance. And I think the cycle is very close to ours. The process is going to start very soon and should conclude around April. So that's the experience on how to do evaluations. I could bring it back here. And vice versa. I learned a lot from our experience with evaluating our superintendents. So that will inform my role there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions for Semi? I'll pause in case Lou has anything online. Okay, moving on in the agenda. Next, we have the superintendent's report. Ryan?
All right. I have a couple things that I wanted to highlight. The first one is really for community, and that is the rights of undocumented students. There was a resolution that the school board passed December 5th of 2016, and there's some important aspects of that that I think are important for community members to know. The first one is that all students have the constitutional right to equal access to public education, regardless of the immigration status of them or their families. We know that to be true from a Supreme Court case, Plyer versus Doe, that happened in the 80s. So this has been a long history of rights in our country. And then secondly, that we as a school district don't collect information on immigration status from our students or families. And if we were to even know that information, we wouldn't share it because of protections under FERPA, which is provides privacy for our students. So I just think it's important that our community knows that and continues to hear that. I've shared that in a recent superintendent's chat with staff across the district, and I just want our families to be aware of that as well and know our schools are safe places for all kids. So I wanted to start with that. Then the others are more for the board as informational updates. The first one is that thanks again for participating in this scorecard dinners with our middle schools and high schools. Thanks for calling that out, Chris. So your next meeting next Thursday will be with the elementaries. And for those, one of the pieces of feedback the board leadership gave is to have the materials available to you, rather just so they're not just online, but you can have a hard copy. So just kind of keep that in mind, that's the modification we're going to make. We're going to keep the time about the same based on what people shared in terms of the conversation and the amount of time for that, but we are going to make sure that you have some materials in hand. An update on Osborne. So we're expecting by sometime this month to get a report on the engineering study, which is the next step in letting us know what repairs have to be made. And just to remember that the building is owned by the district, but it is maintained and ran day to day by Parks and Rec. And so we'll continue to work with the city as we get more information, but I'll keep you informed as I get additional information about where we are in that process. And then I just had some general updates, just kind of, again, piggybacking on what Chris talked about, just some of the great things that are happening in our schools. I get to be out and I get to see some of those things, and I just wanted to highlight a few of them. So last time we had our student reps here, Laura mentioned to me that there was a blood drive happening out at CV, so I went ahead and went out and got stuck and participated in the blood drive. I also had a chance to watch Puffs, which was really fun to go see that play. Puffs is kind of a take on Harry Potter from the perspective of a different house, so that was a lot of fun. Also, I've had a couple of chances to have Thanksgiving meals, which I appreciated. The first one was the Kime family, so Krista Schmieder and her brother JJ, as well as Sammy Arnst. At the high school, they provided meals to all of the kids in autos and ceramics one day. Each class period came through and everybody had a chance to eat, as I did as well. I also attended the CSD Native Community harvest gathering that Lou spoke about, and that was a great opportunity for people just to come together, learn a little bit more about our Title VI grant, but also really just to be in community. So that was great. Fall Fest at Bridges, so our Bridges program, they also fed me. So they had an opportunity to have a Thanksgiving meal as well, and it was great. And kids were part of preparation and just the pride in being there. And then yesterday I had a chance to visit Sarah Moeller-Cruz's classroom. Their students had written some letters about wanting to have more art time and more library time, more support for their custodian or campus steward. more access to the playground, so accessibility. So I went and they shared their thoughts and ideas with me, and then so I asked them some questions about why those things were important to them, and then they asked me questions about being the superintendent, and really what they're trying to do is find out how old I am. They're second and third graders, so that was a hoot, and just fun to be able to be out in school, seeing what's going on. And then my last update is around we have an InfoSec committee, which is a group that looks at the security of our networks and our websites, emails, student and business information. And we've been meeting for about 3 years now, and we have support in that area. And recently, Brian Schaffeld was interviewed by a student at Franklin High School, and it was in their most recent publication from their school. So again, some recognition for the work that Brian and his team does to make sure that our information is secure. So those are my highlights.
Thank you so much. Yeah, any questions for Ryan? Go ahead, Chris.
I really appreciate what your first topic about supporting our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering, is there any talk about adding more family support time to our family advocates? Because we know when in the past that there was some extra need of support to families, especially in an emergency situations.
So I had a chance to meet with a team that included Sabrina and Martha Calderon and some other folks, RCN, to talk about what sorts of supports we want to make sure are in place, and also thinking about what sorts of supports are available in our community. In the past, we've done some Know Your Rights events, and so we've been talking about that. We also are recognizing that that we anticipate or recognize that there's lots of anxiety for lots of people.
Yes.
with lots of different backgrounds, and so we're trying to also recognize those folks as well, beyond people who are undocumented. And so we're continuing to think about and plan for how do we provide support. We haven't made any decisions about additional staffing at this time, but we have been talking a lot about how to coordinate services.
Awesome. Thank you.
Other questions for Ryan? No. I'll pause in case Lou, any hand up over there virtually? No. I do have one question to build on Chris's question, actually. And my question is also in regard to the update that you shared and the reminder that you shared with us about schools being a safe space, and just a question of how is that message being communicated to families? And especially in thinking about families who may have a home language other than English. Are there extra efforts going out to share that same messaging out with families for that reassurance, to make sure that they're connected with that support? Can you tell us a little bit about what that looks like?
Well, I think there's more that we can do in that area. To be honest with you, I think that we are wanting to provide information, but we also know that context changes. And so we want to make sure that we're providing information that's current. And also, so I just read an article in Ed Week today about how you can only, you can communicate what you know to be current, not what you think is going to be happen in the future. And so we're going to try our best to balance those things and provide the right information to families. But we do have the opportunity to report out further and share more broadly. Tonight was an attempt to do some of that, but I know that there's more that needs to be done.
Thank you. And my other question was just, when do you sleep? But really appreciate the update, and it's so clear. We know you carry so many administrative responsibilities and spend so much time being present in the schools, especially with students and staff. It's really something that's really special about this district, and not something that we hear happening in all districts. So thank you for that.
That's why we do this work. So to be able to enjoy those times.
Okay, moving forward on our agenda, we will now open the public comment period. We value the lived experiences. Okay.
Do we have any public comment?
No public comment tonight? Okay, then I'm going to open it and close it. Should I read any portion of it? Can I, if I would like to?
If you want, yeah.
if I would like, okay. I would like to read part, just to say that we value the lived experiences of students, families, staff, and community, and welcome public comment as a necessary and important part of the work of the district and board. So we know no one's here tonight with verbal public comment, but really want to continually reaffirm to the community that we love to hear from you. We love to hear from you, whether it's verbally, whether it is in English. We also have interpretation services available into Spanish on a nightly basis, but I think also on request for other languages as well as email, phone calls, and other ways. Please do continue to reach out to us, to engage with us. We love hearing from you, and as Ryan was saying, that's what this work is about. It's about connection and community and supporting students and their families. All right, so now I will close public comment. Now, we have a report from Student Transportation of America. We have 3 guests coming up to join us, Shane Anderson, Mark Jordan, and Angela Taylor. We appreciate you being here. And Bill Knightman, you said as well? Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. So you'll see you have microphones in front of you. If you push the button on the right, it looks like a human head with a voice speaking out of it. Once the light comes on, you'll be able to speak. All right. We really appreciate you being here, you traveling here, and preparing a presentation for us.
Thank you, Director. And thank you. This is our first opportunity to be invited by the board, and we appreciate the invitation. So I know I'm very excited as a born and raised Oregonian myself, who's gone away for a while. It's always nice to come home, and so exciting opportunity to address you. So thank you. One moment while I figure out this technology, I hit share, correct? Is that what I do there? Perfect. Just like that.
Got it? Okay. And just to the community, I think to set up the context for this, we've gotten a lot of questions over time, over past years, actually, continually around transportation for students and making sure students have safe, reliable transportation. We know how challenging it is for families, especially when there are unpredictable things that happen. We know how challenging that can be and how critical it is for school, and we really appreciate you taking the time as Student Transportation of America, the company that we're engaged with this year. Is this year the first year?
No,
or?
we've been with STA for
Since 2019.
Okay, since 2019.
Yep.
Okay. Just to
All
come and
right.
speak about. We're excited to hear from you and really appreciate it.
And excited for the presentation. Thank you, Director. And so what we wanted to do was we prepared for the board, just kind of wanted to go over a brief overview of our partnership that commenced in 2019 and recently was just extended in partnership and collaboration with Corvallis School District to extend another 5 years. And so we're very excited about that opportunity. We are a very committed partner where we like to be transparent. And so we want to go through some tough challenges, to your point, Director. Certainly a community outcry, and we've heard that. And so, we work very vigilantly to address those concerns with our local team as well as our regional and national. So we're going to review kind of the partnership history there. Again, 2019, we started with 32 routes in our collaboration and agreement. Today, ideally, 38 Corvallis school routes with some additional routes that totals roughly 41, I think is about where we're at, or the goal, right? And we're going to get there. So as well, I want to kind of review some of the summer challenges and summer solutions that we had specifically to this year. Leading up to the startup in September, as well as review some summer preparation that we went through to try to address some of those challenges and prepare for a successful year. And then we're a proactive company, really wants to focus on the solutions. And so we want to go through kind of those solution-based, make sure that the board understands the things that we are working on in collaboration with Kim and her group and the transportation group, really on a daily basis. And then how does that outlook look as we move forward? What are our goals and visions to get on track here and address a lot of the challenges and overcome those? So a little bit, again, Bill Neiman, he is our area general manager. He supports Student Transportation America throughout the Oregon area with the 6 locations that we manage. And then Angela Taylor is your local terminal manager who is here daily and fighting the good fight here in Corvallis. So, and then again, Shane Anderson, I'm the Regional Vice President of Operations. And up in the cloud there is our Senior Vice President of Operations, Mark Jordan, who unfortunately tried to fly out of Wisconsin today in 5-degree weather, and the plane wasn't going to leave. So he apologizes for not being here. We'll let him address that at that point. So, Mark, just to verify, are you there?
I am. Good evening, Shane. Good evening, Director. Good evening, Board.
There you go. So again, our partnership began in 2019 with the 32 routes, and we've grown since. And obviously, post-COVID has been some challenges, right, for all of us. I think workforces in general across all states have had some challenges with recruiting, hiring, retaining employees, good quality employees at our places of business, and we have not been exempt from that. It's been no secret that the industry as a whole for school busing has had its challenges with driver shortages. STA, however, our focus is to overcome those. So pre-COVID, many of our operations were successful in that. Post-COVID, it's been a little challenging. So we're going to go through that a little bit more detail. And then when we, just at the time that we signed the extension and collaboration, we went through some transition and changes, both regionally and locally with some management teams, and that's where we had an opportunity to bring Angela in to really kind of steer the ship the right direction, was our goal and our vision. So, and she remains very committed to achieving that. So. So some of the summer solution pieces, as we went into the summer, generally speaking, we had just about reached what I would say full staff. And what I mean by that is a full complement of drivers. Quickly that changed throughout the summer. And so as we addressed those, as those challenges came, Angie, in daily updates and communications, we addressed those and got very creative. And how we wanted to address and turn that around. So going into summer, we felt good. And then the summer hit. Of course, in our industry, unfortunately, it's not year-round work for the majority of our workforce. And so we understand sometimes we do expect a certain level of attrition when summers occur. It was a bit more than expected this year. Where we generally look anywhere between an 8 to 12% attrition rate, Corvallis about a 15 to 18%. So it was unexpected at that level. So working in collaboration with Kim and the team here with Corvallis School District, we worked very closely with our solutions, our objective, our goal. We were very clear what we needed to do. As we went through the summer, we had some other outside challenges that occurred. One of the pieces, as we hire drivers, they are required not only to go through close to 70 hours of specific CDL training, enhancement, and safety training to drive the vehicle. We also rely on Oregon Department of Education to issue a school bus driving certificate. ODE, we found actually has had some challenges in delivering those certificates. In some cases, those delays are up to 4 weeks. So after we've gone through the 45 to 55 day process of onboarding, that's when we can apply for that permit. Once our drivers have been tested and certified, we're good to go on the CDL piece and we're ready to put them behind the wheel. Then we submit the application to ODE, and due to some challenges similar with workforce challenges, they are behind 3 to 4 weeks, and that's caused some delays. Now the great news is, in collaboration with ODE and our safety director in the area, we are in constant communication with ODE to understand what that looks like. And the great news is ODE has enhanced by bringing in some additional assistance with them to kind of push that forward. And so we're starting to see that. And Angie's got some updates specifically on the staffing and how the outlook looks today and what will look like here in the near future. So also communication enhancements in collaboration and working with Corvallis School District. We were asked to take over the transportation communication piece. So happy to do that. And so we jumped on board with that, and we worked throughout the summer to try to organize and prepare for that communication aspect. We weren't quite as prepared for some unexpected challenges, and so we addressed those as they hit us. Unfortunately, that added to a rough startup. So we own that, but again, working very closely, we're working on solutions with Kim and her team. And I think again, I'll let Angie address the details for you on that. We like to think that it's moved forward quite a bit, so. And then the technology enhancements. So we added a K through 12 parent app. It tracks the students as they get on the vehicles. And the parents can kind of zone in and see, where is that bus right now? Where's my kiddo? There was some technology challenges with that as well. It's driven by an outside application that's driven by Tyler Technologies. Through that process, as we fired it up, we had some GPS issues. So we worked through those GPS issues. So again, kind of a unexpected storm right when we started. And so immediately jumped on that, worked closely with Zonar, the third-party vendor that works closely with Tyler, that worked closely with us. We were able to figure out some solutions there. And today, again, Angie will update you, but it seems to be working, generally speaking, well. So some of the solutions that we did do, just some back history as well. When we did the extension, one of the first things we did, and I'll kind of transition to Angie here. I know you're itching, so we were able to do something unprecedented, and I think the board as well as the community should be proud that you set a precedence. We were approached with Kim by Kim when we extended regarding going to emergency services and installing emergency cell phones on school buses. That is unprecedented in this industry, so I think we should be very proud of that. We rolled it out. There is a emergency cell phone service that can only dial 911 in the event of an emergency on your vehicles, on our vehicles. In the event of one. So, and that nowhere does that exist. So I think that's a big thing. We were proud of that. So thank you, Kim, and work in collaboration with that. I thought that was very positive. And so we've had some positive things along the way with our challenges and tribulations. So with that though, Angie, I don't want to steal it all. So I'll turn it over to you on the solution-based actions. She'll give you the update.
Thank you, board. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having us and giving us an opportunity to share with you some of our challenges and some of the areas of growth that we're able to highlight. As Shane said, we kind of struggled with some challenges when I came down here. There was a lot of areas where we needed to grow and make changes. One of the first things that we had to look at was our driver pool. Driver retention, that's one of our biggest issues. And so how do we retain those valuable drivers? So we looked at our wages and making sure we had a competitive wage scale, and we looked at the different districts and surrounding areas and made sure that our starting wage was higher than the other areas' starting wages. We also got really creative, and we started a attendance bonus for drivers. So drivers who come in every day, show up on time for work, don't take time off, don't call out sick, they are eligible for an extra $1 an hour for every hour they work that week. It has been highly successful. It's a great way for us to reward and recognize those drivers that are reliable and showing up every day. The number of call-outs that we have is, it's almost nil now. So we're having an 84% on average success rate with that bonus program. So we're super excited about that. We also were able to add medical benefits for drivers. So that's something that was new this year. A common reason why we do lose drivers on occasion. So we had 9% of our drivers this year who took advantage of that open enrollment. One of the other things we looked at was how do we make our jobs more appealing to the community. We started out with sign-on bonuses for drivers of $1,500 for a non-CDL and $2,500 for someone with a CDL. Over the course of the last several months, we've increased that up to $3,000 for a non-CDL, $4,000 for a CDL, which makes it a pretty enticing job opportunity. Our marketing and recruiting activities, we really bumped those up. So over the summer, we participated in several activities: the 4th of July Parade, the Benton County Fair, Philomath Frolic, the Corvallis Fall Festival. We've got banners and buses around the community. We had drivers at recruiting tables out every day over the summer, reaching out to the community. We also have drivers who've been out putting pull tab flyers. We've got them out at more than a dozen local businesses in the area. We've also, I don't know if you guys have seen them, we've got billboards now. So there's a billboard down in Southtown. We have a billboard on Highway 20 as you're coming into Philomath, so we're really excited about those. And then online, of course, always the online presence. So Indeed.com, making sure that we're being competitive with the other school companies that are posting positions on there, and then Facebook ads as well. We did have a lot of staffing challenges, not just at a driver level, but at an operational level as well. So back in, towards the end of October, we were able to bring on a new safety trainer. She's our safety supervisor. She handles the training and onboarding process for our new candidates. She comes to us with 20 years experience in the industry. She has been such a valuable asset to us. She's really helped us get in there, streamline the process, help us create a more efficient and timely process. So we're really moving those candidates through as quickly as we can. As of right now, we've got 7 new drivers for this school year that are currently on the road. We've got 1 who's waiting for his ODE certificate, and we have 6 additional that are currently in our CDL training process pipeline. So a total of 14 drivers for this school year. And we also continue to monitor our applicant pool on a daily basis. We have had a really quality pool of applicants, and we continue to reach out to them on a daily basis. We have multiple interviews scheduled at any given time, so it's pretty exciting to go from where we were to where we are now. It's, you know, when it rains, it pours. One of the things that was really key for us is, you know, when we hit some really bumpy times there at the beginning of startup, we got our entire regional team down here to support us. So we had, you know, somebody from each area of the regional support team down here on site helping support us to be successful. That was, you know, that was key. So that was a huge benefit to my team, as me and my team are all relatively new. One of the things that, as he mentioned, was a challenge for us is the MyRide K-12 application that we rolled out. So great application now that it works. It's a way for us to be able to push out notifications to parents via an app on their phone to let them know when there's delays with buses, when we're having to combine a bus, things like if we're going to have to run snow routes. So now that we've got more than 1,240 parents that are registered for this app, the call volume for parents being confused and not knowing where their buses are has gone down dramatically. We offer the app in both English and Spanish, so that's a great benefit to the entire community there. And we are looking at rolling out another communication campaign after the holiday, just to kind of reach back out to those that may be new to the district, that, you know, may be still falling in that gap there of, you know, they're not receiving those communications. And then just to bring us to current. So on November 1st, we started contracting directly with Dial-A-Bus so that we could help alleviate some of the capacity issues and stress on some of our individual transportation routes, so that we're able to shorten some of those trips for kids. And then also working with charter companies like MTR and Eco Shuttle to help ensure that we're able to have all of our trips covered and not having to cancel routes. We also started tracking an on-time performance report. So this is something that was really important to Kim and to the district, and I think to the community as well. That was one of the big things that we heard from the community is, you know, we need to get your kids to school on time. They want breakfast. They don't want to miss academic time. And so through this report, we're able to see a very clear picture of when our buses are arriving where, and to be able to address where we need to make adjustments to ensure that those buses are arriving to school on time. Since beginning that report on November 1st, we've made continual progress and have an overall 8% decrease in late arrivals since we started tracking the 1st of November. We analyze this information, we review it with Kim on a weekly basis, and we're continuing to collaborate on coming up with creative solutions to address the challenges that some of those routes are facing. That's all I have. I feel like that was a lot. But again, thank you for giving us the opportunity to kind of share what we've been doing and where we're going.
Director, this is Mark Jordan, and again, to the board, I apologize I wasn't able to be there in person tonight, but I just want to add one additional piece to what Shane and Angela added, and that's, unique to our Oregon locations only, because we don't typically have this opportunity within the staffing perspective, but Oregon also has a dedicated recruiter and who also packages with what we call a business or data analyst, and her primary function is making sure the sites are fed with applications, but also monitoring the sites and databases that we're using and the sources of which those applications are coming from, particularly to where we're advertising, so we can continue to pivot and use that data to understand where are our best avenues of resources that we're putting our most emphasis in, and as well as making sure that as those folks enter the system via an initial inquiry, that we have a checks and balance as well, that the team is also following up to make sure that those applicants are being reached. And we use multiple mechanisms to do that. And once we have an individual that's interested, certainly maximizing the opportunity to get them into the site and move them through the pipeline as quick as possible, but obviously understanding there's some parameters to that speed at which they can move through. So just wanted to add that piece.
And with that, we would love to address any questions that you have for us.
Thank you so much.
I have
Go
one
ahead,
quick
Greg.
question. So, you said there's a delay of 4 weeks or so between getting the CDL qualifications and then ODE giving a secondary qualification, right? Is there anything such as a provisional qualification, a provisional arrangement we can enter with ODE to allow some of those drivers to get to work earlier?
Good question, Director. So working with ODE, what we've now done is our safety director works in collaboration with the ODE for updates. So now we started receiving a report just this week, actually. It kind of breaks it down into the first step ODE can do, you can apply for a 10-day permit, a temporary. That's why they process the application. So in a perfect world, the standard procedure or the standard timeframes we were used to was 5 to 7 days once you submit the application. So the first step the team always does is a 10-day temp. Unfortunately, though, through some challenges they're having, we're seeing that now they at least have a calendar in collaboration we've worked with in other districts. We have the 10-day permit piece right off the bat, so we get 10 days. And then that's where the challenge begins. So that's where we see that at one point up to a 4-week delay. Now we're monitoring through a reporting system on a daily basis and getting a report where that's now come down to about 3 weeks, or I think this week. Matter of fact, we had someone that, today we got a surprise. Somebody got their certificate. We didn't expect it till the 20th. So that shows that ODE, we're getting there. And so through that process, the constant communication and monitoring, that's the best we've been able to with ODE. I know that there are some pretty big challenges with them. As I understand too, it was a little late this year. Everybody statewide is trying to get those certifications right when startup happens, and they're prepared for that. As I understand that was a little late this year, much like we experienced. Usually about this time, things kind of settle down. People are becoming fully staffed, and that didn't happen. It's just now getting to that point where we're starting to see some progress, not just across STA, but I think our competitors and districts as well. So it's just constant communication with them. So.
Thank you for being here, and I appreciate all the moving parts that you have to deal with. I know it's a lot more than even you were able to probably tell us about, all the little things that happen. I think the one thing that we've heard about the most is the communication piece. Parents upset that they're not hearing when a bus is delayed or not coming, or their bus route has changed or whatever. And I noticed you said something about the app, but that's not to everybody yet, right? Is that what I heard you say?
Yeah, so the app is the only way that we have to communicate directly with parents. And so until we get everybody downloading the app. They can register online as well if they don't have a phone to put the app onto. But that's our way to communicate with parents. So at the beginning of the school year when this rolled out, our phones were blowing up. I mean, it was literally, we could not keep up with the phone calls that we were getting of parents that were confused. And so, you know, where we're at now, you know, we might get half a dozen calls a week for parents that are, where's the bus? Because with each call that came in, we were able to walk them through that system to get them enrolled into the system. And so I think for the folks that are taking advantage of it or want to take advantage of it, they're able to do that now. And I think part of the reason we need to roll out this additional communication campaign is because there are still folks that aren't getting that information for whatever reason. You know, they missed the communication, they didn't get a flyer, and so, you know, reaching back out to ensure that, you know, these folks are getting a second chance to, you actually do really want this. If you want to be able to get that information, it's a valuable tool. One of the things I didn't touch on is how we're communicating with the schools. So we set up Google Chats with each of the schools. So now, instead of having to make multiple calls to a school because a bus is delayed and maybe somebody's not answering and we can't get through, shoot off the Google Chat, this bus is delayed, ETA is this, and you're done. And so that has been very successful as well.
So, because that was my next question. So you're chatting with schools, and are you getting a response back? Because that's kind of a tough time of the day, especially at the end of the day with schools. I'm just wondering.
It's not really intended to be a two-way. It's more for us to be able to blast them the notification. Every once in a while.
Yeah, I could chime in on that. We've had really good feedback from our office managers about the Google Chat. It's a place where they can go and take a look when something is going awry, and it's in writing, it's communicated. We have asked not to have it be two-way back from the schools because we have one, maybe two dispatchers that are running all of the phones for the entire operation, and they don't have time to look at that. So if they have a question about it, we've asked them to make a phone call in so that they don't get overlooked on that two-way communication. But we've had positive feedback about that chat.
Thank you. So did you say you're not able to call parents when a route has been changed or is not happening?
So I guess the exception would be our individual transportation routes. So when we make changes to the individual transportation routes, or if they're delayed, we do make calls to those families directly. So on the gen ed routes, those we blast out a notification through MyRide. That's how those parents receive those notifications. We do the same thing with the individual transportation routes, but we follow those up with a phone call to families as well.
And if we are making changes to routes, not only do we put that out through MyRide K-12, but we do paper copies out handed to students on the bus and to parents at the bus stops. So we don't rely on that alone for route changes. We still stick to our old methods of putting it out there, and we put it out there multiple days in a row before we make the change. So like 3 days worth of opportunities to get the handwritten updated route, and then we implement it the following day. If it's not a Friday or a Monday, we implement on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays.
Yeah. Great. And then just my other, I guess, concern with the app is some of our families don't have a lot of time on their phones and aren't necessarily able to download apps on their phones. And then so just wondering how we're helping those families that can't have the app.
So this is one area where we do have. You turned it. Oh, sorry. This is one area where we do have a gap, and I think there's an opportunity here to look at where we can expand that. They can log in through a website. They can register through a website. So if they have access to the internet, they can get the notifications that way as well. But sadly, there are folks who aren't in the position to be able to have a phone to download that app on. In the same way that I think the same type of a challenges there were with, Parent Square as well. There has to be a way for them to receive that message. So
I'd like to say that if there's any families that are struggling with that, we would welcome a chance to help them navigate through it, either by not contacting their health navigator at their school or contacting the transportation department directly. We will find a way for families to get those notifications. I have not been presented with that barrier as of yet. I haven't heard that that has been a barrier for anyone. But please send them our way and we will navigate through that with them.
And if I could just add too, it's a great question. So I'm going to take that back and see what we can do to create a creative solution. I know, the nice thing is with how large of an operation we have and the resources that we have available, I think there is some other creative solutions we can come up with. So I'll take that back, and we'll definitely get a message to Kim right away with some of the thoughts that we've got, and then we can pull together and see if we can get a creative solution. So.
May I suggest considering putting QR codes in printed material for orientation? That probably will help a lot of people who didn't have the phone at that time.
That's a
and
great
they can take
idea.
it back later.
That's a great idea. Absolutely.
Just seeing that we're starting to run low on time, and I know we have a comment from Lou online. Sammy, you haven't had a chance, and I have some questions as well. With the board's permission, I'd like to add, what do you say, 5 or 10 minutes? Maybe 10 minutes, just to be safe. Okay, we will go to Lou online.
Thanks, Shauna, and thanks you all for being here this evening. Before I go into my comment that I was going to make, it's related to communication as well, and I just wanted to comment on one of the responses about the comparing the My K-12 Route app to Parent Square. I don't think that's a really good comparison, because that's about information going on in announcements, which are critical for parents to have, but it's a different kind of critical when you're looking for your child and don't know where the bus is. And so my suggestion would be to try to figure out a way to make calls too, like the automated calls, sort of like we get with other emergencies. I'm going to share that as board chair. I'm responsible for responding to the concerns that come in through email and some really I don't want to use the word upset in like a negative way, because I understand where the frustration is coming in from when parents cannot find out what's going on with transportation with their child, especially when they're coming home. And so I will share a personal example. That way it's not putting any other community members' information out there. But my child rides the bus, and it had hit a pole at some point just leaving the school, and they were sitting on the bus for a really long time waiting for another bus to come pick them up. And I received zero communication. I had no idea where she was. And I looked on the app and it had no information. It said the route was complete. So my question is what is going on with the app? I was really excited because it worked in the beginning, and a lot of parents this is actually one of the top things that parents ask me about when I run into them, is the app and the bus situation. Because the information on there says there's no routes available. A lot of the time there's no information available. And so it's not really helpful in knowing where the bus is or knowing if there's changes going on. So my question is one, what's going on with the app? If it works right now, which I just pulled it up, and it said, so I don't remember what it said on it, actually, sorry, but if it is working, it wasn't working last week. And I check on it whenever community members bring up this comment about the app. And it's, so that's kind of the question, is like, is it fixed, and when did it get fixed? What happened with it? I know there was communication that went out at some point, but the frustration from parents was that there was no communication for so long. So sorry that was really long-winded, but it is a really big concern for parents when they don't know where their children are.
So there's a couple things I can say to address that. So I do know that might have been about 2 weeks ago, where there was 2 or 3 days when the app was having some challenges. Unfortunately, that hadn't been brought to my attention, or we would have blasted a notification to all users. One of the things that we've run into, we're finding, is the system that we use does an automated update every night, and for some reason, sometimes when that update happens, it's update certain fields that sometimes impact a person's route assignment. So in most cases, when we've got a student that's registered and we have them assigned to their routes in the system, you're gonna be able to go in and see, here's their route, here's when the bus is expected to be there, here's your bus number, and then, you know, the cute little map where you can see where the bus is. One of the challenges that we have run into is, especially when we're making route changes, combinations, splitting back out routes, with the number of students that we are updating, occasionally students do get missed. And so, you know, if a parent calls in and says, hey, I could see my kids' routes yesterday and now I can't see anything, we're able to go in and get them reassigned to those routes. So, you know, my biggest comment would be to, you know, have those families reach out to us, because every one of my staff members is fully capable, and we can get in there and we can get that information updated for them. We can make sure that they're assigned to the right stops. We can make sure that they're assigned to the right buses. One of the challenges that we were having with the GPS tracking was not pulling up the bus information, and as Lou said, the bus showing that the route had already been completed when the student hadn't even been picked up yet. So we have been working through some of those challenges, and with it being technology, it's never going to be 100% perfect, but compared to where we were 2 months ago, we're doing a lot better than we were. So I just, again, encourage those families to reach out to us, you know, give us a call, let us walk them through it, let us have the opportunity to get their information updated so that they are getting accurate information.
Okay, I would follow up with saying that I think it's going to be important for you all to provide that kind of verbiage for us to have on our webpage or something, because how would parents know that's what they're supposed to do? And I'm not joking with this. Every single person that has talked to me about this, the app doesn't work for. The app has not worked for my child for months. And so I didn't know, like, I was supposed to call you all to get it reassigned. Like, how would I know that as a parent? And how would other community members know that as a parent? And I know you all are doing better, but it brings up a lot of safety concerns, and it could bring up trauma for some parents and families of not knowing where their child is when these updates. So I understand you all are trying to do better and striving to, but we really need something solid in this case for families that are struggling with getting the information or having to rearrange their whole afternoon or morning if they don't know what's going on with the buses. And so we hear the stories from the families that you aren't hearing, and like as the board chair responsible for responding, I didn't have that information until tonight to say, like, this is the step to do. So I think that communication piece is really important. And it's also important to have posted somewhere or communicated, or even on the app, some wording like, if this isn't working, please get a hold of us. That, I don't know if that can be added, but there's something that needs to change here, because it's really frustrating for families. And that's I know Sammy and Shauna also have comments, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute, but thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Bill, it looked like you were leaning in to address a comment. Is there something that you'd like to?
Can I just respond to that?
Go ahead.
So we can absolutely incorporate something into the communication campaign that we're going to roll out after the first of the year. Really look at a more holistic approach, making sure that that information is posted so that parents are aware, you know, where they need to reach out to if they're having problems or questions.
Sammy.
Thank you. I appreciate the board leadership, superintendents, and presenters for leaning in. We do have challenges, and you leaned in. You, pun absolutely intended, you opened the hood and showed us the interworkings of the challenges that we have and the creative solutions that you're working on. And also, you touched upon some process metrics, some outcomes that you look forward to. So I'm going to continue and ask with one maybe summarizing question, and then I have another one, but let's focus on this one, which is, when all said and done at the end of the year, or any time in the year, if I would ask you, what's your top 3 measures of success If you gotta choose three, I know you might have a fourth one that's absolutely necessary, but if you would summarize the high level, what's your measures of success? When do you say we're very successful? You don't need to report the numbers necessarily or how you're measuring it. What is it?
Just want to make sure the senior VP doesn't want to answer that. So,
But yeah, I can.
The
Go ahead, Shane.
director, what? There he is. Oh, go ahead, Shane. So I think first, our priority number one is safety, the safety of the students. So success is going to be safely delivering the students in the community on time. So I think one, on time well, I guess that'd be number two. Number one, safety. Number two, we'll measure the success by on time delivery of the students accurately. And then I think, boy, the list, it's quite a list, right? So, but having a full complement in the workforce, that helps us achieve that success. With that said, communication, I would put that as three. So I think my thought are those three. We need to measure our success based on the safety of the students, on-time delivery of those students to where they belong, and then communicating effectively when we have our challenges. So I think to Lou's point, we need to enhance our communication significantly, and so that's what I'm taking. I take that to heart, and we need to enhance. That's my top priority right now. So to me, that's outside of the safety of the students. That's going to be a measure of success. Are we communicating effectively? Does this community know what's going on as partners? As we have a huge responsibility in what we do and being good stewards of communities that we serve. We are focused on partnership with our clients and communities. So I think that's a huge piece to measure. So that's what I would address. Mark, I don't know if you have any additional, but that's my thought.
I would agree with that, and maybe a subcategory of the communication. I think the other piece that's important is the feedback, right? I mean, improvement is evolution, and where this group has really, pulled up their bootstraps, if you will, and desired to be as partners and collaborators with the district, and that means hearing feedback, and that feedback isn't always positive, but it is recognition of where we have challenges and areas we need to improve, and consistently pivoting and collaborating and understand where our weaknesses are and where we can get stronger across the board from our systems, our processes. And in this vein right now, we're talking about open communication or enhanced communication. So I would add that feedback helps us learn, helps us grow, helps us adapt, particularly in places where the community may be noting to us, this is not either as successful as we perhaps think or as it should be, depending on the category.
Can I do it?
Thank you. Hold on. Thank you, Mark. Just noting that we've gone over time again. I know we're a little bit ahead in our agenda. Sammy, it looks like you have a little bit more.
Yes.
I have one question I'd like to ask. With the board's permission or consent, would you consent to going, should we add 5, 10? 10 to be safe and to account for the time that we've gone over. Thank you.
So the next one might be just a seed for future discussion. I really appreciate you summarizing those three measures of success. I want to share with you a measure of success that might transcend departmental or organizational boundaries, which is a priority for this district, a priority for the state, an education system, chronic absenteeism. How can we ensure we don't have students missing 10 or more school days a year? That's what chronic absenteeism is. I believe it's a responsibility that's shared among all partners, helping the student from home back to home. And I wonder if there's any of your measures of success or processes that might inform helping the students be there on time every day. And if they miss the bus, they're still going to be there in the school. And I totally understand that might be maybe one of the things that even transcend our own departments between facilities, transportation, education, and other things. So just want to put that seed. If you have any brief comments about maybe how your work inform reducing chronic absenteeism, that's great. Otherwise, I would really welcome continuing this conversation.
So one of the
I
things that's
thi-
really important to, sorry, Mark, go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was going to say, I think there's a measure there to be considered, and that certainly as technology evolves and advances, perhaps there are opportunities where student ridership data tracking can be a bit more sophisticated. In that sense, where reporting may enable to combat that, sir. And then Angela, I'm not sure what you were going to add in there.
I just wanted to add that, part of our goal is to make sure that students are getting to school on time and safely. And so anytime a student misses the bus, anytime that we can to make sure that they are getting to school, we absolutely make the effort to do that. We want those kids getting to school as well, especially for those who don't have the ability to be transported.